All right, let's dive into another deep dive. Today, we're getting into the world of personal finance and figuring out how to reach financial freedom.
Sounds exciting.
It is. And we have an awesome guide for this journey, Tony Robbins, and his book, Money, Master the Game.
Oh, I've heard great things about that one. Didn't he interview like a ton of financial experts for it?
He did, over 50, actually. We're talking about self-made billionaires, Nobel Prize winners, people who really know their stuff when it comes to money.
That's impressive. So what's the main takeaway? What's Robbins' secret sauce for achieving financial freedom?
Well, he lays out these 7 simple steps to financial freedom. We'll definitely dig into those. But first, he does something really interesting. He tackles these common money myths that he says hold us back. He calls them the 9 myths.
Myths, like what?
Well, one that really stood out to me is myth #3, our returns. What you see is what you get. You know, like when you see those reported returns on your mutual
Yeah,
funds?
what about them?
Well, he says those returns don't always tell the whole story. Hidden fees can actually eat into your gains, sometimes even more than taxes.
Whoa, really? I never thought about that. So what's the solution?
Robbins is a big advocate for minimizing fees, especially in things like retirement accounts. He suggests looking into low-cost index funds as a way to keep more of your money working for you.
Index funds. Got it. So besides those fees, what else does Robbins say we should be mindful of when it comes to retirement planning?
He's a huge fan of the Roth IRA, and honestly, after reading the book, I can see why.
What makes it so special?
He explains how it offers tax-free growth and withdrawals in retirement, which is a pretty sweet deal. He even brings in Dr. Jeffrey Brown, a retirement planning expert, who argues that Roth IRAs are crucial now more than ever because, let's be honest, taxes are probably going up in the future.
That's a good point. It's like you're getting ahead of the game by sheltering your money now.
Exactly. But Robbins doesn't stop there. He also cautions against those target date funds, the ones that seem super easy because you just set them and forget them.
Yeah, I've heard those can be a good option for people who don't want to manage their investments too closely.
They can be, but he warns that they often come with high fees, which, again, goes back to his point about fees eating away at your returns.
So those supposedly easy solutions might not be the best in the long run. What about 401ks? Most of us have those through work.
Robbins dives into those too. He talks about how some 401k plans have these shady practices, like this pay-to-play system where certain mutual funds get included just because they pay for the privilege.
Wait, so it's not always about what's best for the employees?
Unfortunately not, according to Robbins. He suggests checking out resources like America's Best 401k to evaluate your current plan and even advocate for better, more cost-effective options.
So knowledge is power. Armed with the right information, we can make smarter choices about our retirement savings.
Exactly. Now let's move on to a topic that often sparks a lot of debate. Annuities. I'm sure you've heard mixed reviews about those.
Oh yeah, definitely. Some people swear by them, others warn against them. What's Robbins' take on annuities?
He breaks them down pretty clearly, explaining the pros and cons of different types. For instance, he's pretty wary of variable annuities, pointing out their high fees and complex structures that can be tough to understand.
So, not a fan of those.
Not really, but he does suggest that fixed indexed annuities can be a useful tool for those looking for a guaranteed lifetime income stream, which can offer peace of mind in retirement.
So it's all about choosing the right tool for the job and making sure you understand what you're getting into.
Exactly. Robbins stresses the importance of being informed and making educated decisions, especially when it comes to something as important as your financial security.
Speaking of financial security, Robbins talks about this concept of upside with protection, right?
He does. It's all about finding that balance between risk and reward. You want some growth potential in your portfolio, but you also want to protect yourself from those inevitable market downturns.
Makes sense. But how do you actually achieve that balance? What kind of strategies does he recommend?
Well, he gets into some interesting areas like market-linked CDs, which offer some upside potential with the added security of FDIC insurance. He also explores structured notes, which can be designed to provide both protection and growth opportunities.
So it's about diversifying your investments and having a mix of strategies to navigate different market conditions.
Right. It's like building a well-rounded portfolio that can weather any storm. And one of the ways he illustrates this concept is through a story about investing in first trust deeds.
First trust deeds. I'm not familiar with those. What are they?
Basically, it's like a real estate version of bonds. You're lending money secured by a property, and in return, you get a regular stream of income.
So it's a way to get involved in real estate without actually buying a property.
Exactly. And Robbins emphasizes that it can be a way to get secure, high-yield returns.
Interesting. It sounds like he's advocating for thinking outside the traditional investment box and exploring different avenues for building wealth.
Absolutely. And this ties into another important concept he highlights: asset allocation. He encourages everyone to create two distinct buckets for their investment.
Two buckets. What are those?
He calls them the security peace of mind bucket and the risk growth bucket.
Okay, so it's like dividing your investments based on your risk tolerance and financial goals.
Exactly. The security bucket is for those investments that you can rely on, like FDIC insured CDs or maybe a portion of your portfolio in bonds. The risk bucket is where you allocate funds for potentially higher growth, but with the understanding that there's more volatility involved.
So you're creating a foundation of stability while still allowing room for potential upside. It's like having the best of both worlds.
Right. And Robbins brings in this fascinating figure who exemplifies this approach: David Swensen, the legendary Yale endowment manager.
Oh, I've heard of him. Didn't he manage that massive Yale endowment and make them a ton of money?
He did. Swensen is known for advocating for a diversified portfolio that includes not just stocks and bonds, but also real estate and even timber.
Timber. It's interesting.
Yes,
It sounds like he was really thinking outside the box.
He was. And what's incredible is that the Swensen portfolio consistently outperformed the S&P 500, even during those rocky market conditions. Talk about a testament to a well-structured, long-term investment strategy.
It definitely shows the power of diversification and thinking beyond traditional investments. But Robbins doesn't just focus on success stories, does he?
He doesn't. He throws in a cautionary tale about a friend who went all in on Las Vegas real estate, only to lose a fortune when the market crashed.
Ouch, that's a tough lesson to learn. But it highlights the importance of managing risk and not getting caught up in the hype.
Exactly. Even experienced investors can make mistakes, especially when emotions get involved. And speaking of managing risk, Robbins introduces another fascinating approach: Ray Dalio's all-weather portfolio strategy.
All weather. So, like, it can handle any market condition. Tell me more about this.
Well, it's designed to thrive in all economic environments, from boom times to recessions. Dalio achieves this by diversifying across different asset classes in a way that accounts for various economic scenarios.
So instead of trying to predict the market, you're essentially preparing for anything that might come your way.
Exactly. It takes the guesswork out of it and focuses on creating a portfolio that can withstand any economic climate. It's like having a financial fortress ready for whatever challenges the market throws at you.
That sounds pretty reassuring, especially in today's volatile world.
It is. But even with the best strategies, fear can still creep in, especially during those market downturns. And that's where Robbins introduces the concept of dollar cost averaging.
Dollar cost averaging. Remind me what that is again.
It's basically investing consistently over time, regardless of market fluctuations. So instead of trying to time the market, you just stick to a regular investment schedule, buying a set amount of, say, an index fund every month.
So it's like taking the emotion out of it and just sticking to a disciplined plan.
Exactly. And Robbins explains how this can actually help you make more money in a volatile market because you're buying more shares when prices are low and fewer shares when prices are high.
Makes sense. But does this strategy work in every market condition? What if the market is consistently going up?
That's a great question. And Robbins is honest about the fact that dollar cost averaging might not be the most effective strategy in a consistently rising market. If you have a lump sum to invest and you're confident that the market is going to keep going up, investing it all at once might yield higher returns.
So it's about being flexible and adapting your strategy to the market conditions. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Exactly. And speaking of things that can impact our returns, let's not forget about taxes. I mean, I remember Robbins sharing that personal anecdote about moving out of California due to those high tax rates.
Oh yeah, that was a real eye-opener. It shows how important it is to consider the tax implications of your financial decisions.
It is. And Robbins stresses the importance of being tax efficient. It's not just about how much money you make, but how much you get to keep after taxes.
Right. So what are some ways to be more tax efficient?
Well, we talked about the Roth IRA earlier. That's a great example of a tax-advantaged account. Robbins also highlights the importance of holding investments for at least a year and a day to qualify for lower long-term capital gains rates.
So patience pays off. Literally.
It does. And let's not forget about his point on frequent trading by mutual fund managers. All that buying and selling can actually generate hefty tax bills for investors, eating into their returns.
It's another example of those hidden costs that we need to be aware of. It's like death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Exactly. And speaking of things that can chip away at our returns, Robbins introduces another important concept: sequence of returns risk.
Sequence of returns risk. What's that all about?
It basically means that experiencing negative returns early in retirement can be devastating to your portfolio, even if you have strong positive returns later on.
Wait, so even if you end up with good returns overall, the timing of those returns can make a big difference.
A huge difference. He uses the example of two retirees, John and Susan, both starting with the same amount saved, but experiencing different market conditions early in their retirement. John gets hit with negative returns early on and ends up running out of money, while Susan enjoys positive returns early on and has a comfortable retirement.
So even though they had the same starting point and potentially similar overall returns, the order in which those returns occurred made all the difference. That's a scary thought.
It is. And that's why Robbins stresses the importance of having guaranteed income sources in retirement, like annuities or pensions, to cushion against market volatility and protect against those early negative returns.
It's like having a safety net so you don't have to worry about running out of money, even if the market takes a nosedive.
Exactly. But Robbins isn't all about playing it safe. He also encourages us to think big and have a long-term vision. He shares this great anecdote about Jeff Bezos and his approach to business, emphasizing the power of innovation and focusing on creating real value.
It's like he's saying, don't just focus on making money, focus on making a difference.
Right. It's about having a bigger purpose and using your resources to create something meaningful and impactful. And that brings us to the concept of the lifetime income plan.
Lifetime income plan, what's that?
It's Robbins' approach to creating a stream of guaranteed income that lasts throughout your retirement, no matter how long you live.
So it's like having your own personal pension plan, even if you don't have a traditional pension.
Exactly. And he even shares his personal experience with annuities, explaining how he initially struggled to find a suitable product for younger investors. But instead of giving up, he partnered with Advisors Excel to create a solution that's accessible to a wider audience, regardless of age or income.
That's awesome. He saw a problem and took action to create a solution. It shows that we don't have to be limited by the existing options. We can advocate for change and create the financial future we desire.
Absolutely. And sometimes those solutions come from unexpected places. Robbins introduces us to this teenager named Easton LaChapelle, who used 3D printing to create affordable prosthetic limbs.
Wow, that's amazing. Talk about using technology for good.
It is. Easton saw a need and found a creative, affordable solution using 3D printing. It's a great example of how technology can be used to create abundance and improve lives.
It's like the possibilities are endless when we start thinking outside the box and using our ingenuity to solve problems.
Exactly. And Robbins brings in Peter Diamandis, a leading thinker on abundance and exponential technologies, to expand on this idea. Diamandis argues that we're on the cusp of a technological revolution that will transform our lives in ways we can barely imagine.
A technological revolution. That sounds both exciting and a little scary.
It is. He paints a picture of a future where we can overcome many of the limitations we face today, from resource scarcity to disease.
It's like stepping into a science fiction novel, but it's actually happening right now.
It is, and Diamandis uses a great analogy to illustrate the power of this technological growth. He talks about taking exponential steps.
Exponential steps? Like our progress is accelerating.
Exactly. He explains that just as compounding interest can create exponential growth in your wealth, compounding advancements in technology can lead to exponential growth in our capabilities and opportunities.
So it's like we're on this upward trajectory, and the pace of progress is constantly increasing.
Right. It makes you wonder what incredible innovations are just around the corner and how they'll shape our world. But Robbins also cautions that technology is a double-edged sword.
Meaning it can be used for good or for bad.
Exactly. He points to the potential for job displacement as automation and artificial intelligence become more prevalent.
That's a valid concern. As technology advances, we need to be mindful of its potential impact on society and make sure that everyone benefits, not just a select few.
Absolutely. It's about using this incredible power responsibly and ensuring that we create a future that's both abundant and equitable. But even with all the challenges we face, Robbins remains optimistic. He believes that we have the power to create a better world, a world where everyone has the opportunity to thrive.
And that brings us back to that core theme of abundance, right? It's about believing in possibilities, not limitations. It's about embracing change and using our ingenuity to solve problems and create a brighter future.
Exactly. It's about shifting our mindset from scarcity to abundance and realizing that we have the power to create the world we want to live in.
That's a powerful message. And I think it's a perfect place to wrap up this part of our deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground, but there's still so much more to explore in Robbins' book.
Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll delve even deeper into his strategies for creating lasting wealth, achieving financial freedom, and living a life of purpose and abundance.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Tony Robbins' Money. Master the game.
I'm excited to continue this conversation. In part 1, we tackled those sneaky money myths and explored strategies for building a strong financial foundation. Roth IRAs, low-cost index funds, those were some real eye-openers.
Definitely. But now I'm curious to dig deeper into what you hinted at, aligning our finances with a bigger purpose.
Exactly. Robbins doesn't just want us to be rich, he wants us to be fulfilled, to live a life that's rich in every sense of the word.
Right. It's like he's saying, okay, you've got the tools to build wealth. Now what are you going to do with it?
Exactly. But that's where I get a bit stuck, to be honest. Like, financial freedom sounds great, but how do I even define what a fulfilling life looks like for me?
Robbins starts with a simple but powerful exercise. Imagine your ideal day. Not just any day, but one where everything feels perfect. Where are you? Who are you with? What are you doing?
Okay, let me think. If money were no object, and I could snap my fingers and create the perfect day. I picture myself waking up in a cozy cabin in the mountains, surrounded by my loved ones.
I love that. There's a crackling fireplace, the smell of coffee and pancakes in the air, and a stack of books just begging to be read.
Sounds idyllic.
It does, right? And then maybe we'd spend the day hiking in the crisp mountain air, playing board games, telling stories. Just simple pleasures, really.
It's beautiful how you describe it, and that's exactly the point Robbins is making. It doesn't have to be fancy or extravagant, just what truly brings you joy.
So what's the next step? Do I just keep daydreaming about this perfect day?
Not quite. The key is to use that vision as a guide. What aspects of that ideal day can you bring into your life right now? What small steps can you take to move closer to that vision, even in your current everyday life?
I see what you mean. Instead of waiting for someday when I have all the money and freedom in the world, I can start incorporating those elements of joy and fulfillment into my life today.
Exactly. Like maybe instead of that mountain cabin, it's a weekend getaway to a nearby lake. Or maybe it's simply dedicating an hour each evening to reading those books you love. Right, it's about taking those intentional steps toward that bigger vision, even in small ways.
Precisely. And Robbins takes this a step further. He talks about thinking of your life in terms of different buckets. Not literal buckets, of course, but areas of focus. Your health, your relationships, your finances, and even your spiritual well-being.
So it's not just about stuffing the financial bucket with cash.
Exactly. It's about making sure all those buckets are full in a way that creates balance and harmony in your life.
Okay, I'm digging the buckets analogy, but how do these buckets connect to our overall financial strategy?
That's the brilliant part. Robbins says that when those other buckets are full, it actually helps you make better financial decisions.
How so?
Think about it. When you feel happy and fulfilled in your relationships, healthy and energized in your body, and connected to something bigger than yourself spiritually, you're less likely to chase after money for the sake of it.
That makes sense. If you're feeling stressed, lonely, or unfulfilled, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking, if only I had more money, everything would be better.
Exactly. You end up in this endless pursuit of more, never really feeling satisfied.
But when you have those other areas of your life in order, you approach your finances from a more grounded and balanced place. You're making decisions from a place of abundance, not scarcity.
Precisely. And that mindfulness is key to creating lasting wealth and living a life of true abundance.
Okay, this is really resonating with me. So we've got the vision, we're working on filling those buckets, but how do we translate that into a concrete plan for achieving our financial goals?
Robbins is all about setting clear, specific goals and then breaking them down into smaller, more manageable steps.
It's about taking that big, audacious dream and turning it into a series of achievable milestones. So instead of feeling overwhelmed by the thought of, say, retiring early, I break it down into smaller goals like increase my savings rate by 1% each month.
Exactly. Or maybe it's explore side hustle opportunities to boost my income.
I see. And as you check off those smaller goals, you build momentum and confidence, which helps you tackle the bigger ones. It's like climbing a mountain. You focus on one step at a time, and before you know it, you've reached the summit.
I love that analogy. But let's be real. Not everything in life goes according to plan. What happens when we hit those inevitable roadblocks or setbacks, like an unexpected car repair bill or a sudden job loss?
Right. Life happens.
Exactly. And that's where Robbins emphasizes the importance of mindset. He reminds us that setbacks are inevitable, but it's how we respond to them that determines our success.
Okay, so it's not about avoiding challenges altogether. It's about how we react to them.
Exactly. Robbins encourages us to view challenges as opportunities for growth and learning. Instead of letting setbacks defeat us, we can use them as fuel to propel us forward.
So it's about reframing our perspective, adopting a more resilient mindset. It's about embracing the journey with all its ups and downs, and trusting that we have the inner strength to overcome obstacles.
Beautifully said. It's about remembering that even the most successful people have faced setbacks. It's part of the journey.
That's good to hear. It's easy to look at those financial gurus and think they must have had it easy, but everyone faces challenges. It's how we handle them that makes the difference.
Absolutely. Now, ready to tackle another potentially tricky topic.
Yippee.
Let's talk about money and relationships.
Ooh, yeah, that's a big one. I mean, money can be a major source of stress and conflict in relationships.
You're not wrong, but Robbins provides some really helpful advice on navigating this tricky terrain. He stresses the importance of open and honest communication with your partner about financial goals, concerns, and aspirations.
So, like scheduled money dates, I actually like that idea.
Me too. It takes the pressure off and creates a more relaxed and structured space for those sometimes difficult conversations.
It's about being on the same team and working together to create a shared vision for your financial future.
Exactly. And even if you and your partner have different approaches to money, you can still find common ground through open communication and a willingness to understand each other's perspectives.
That's reassuring. And if things get really heated, it's probably a good idea to seek professional help, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes a neutral third party can help facilitate those conversations and find solutions.
Absolutely. A financial therapist or counselor can be a valuable resource for couples navigating those sensitive money issues.
Okay, we've talked about personal fulfillment, relationships, but there's one more piece of this puzzle that I'm really excited to explore: giving back. We're talking about achieving financial freedom, creating a life of purpose, but what about using our resources to make a positive impact on the world?
That's a crucial aspect of true abundance, wouldn't you say? Robbins is a big believer in giving back. He shares inspiring stories of philanthropists like Andrew Carnegie and John D. Rockefeller, who dedicated vast fortunes to improving society.
It's incredible what they accomplished. It shows how wealth can be a powerful tool for good. But you don't have to be a billionaire to make a difference, right?
Absolutely not. Robbins emphasizes that giving back can take many forms, whether it's donating money, volunteering your time, or simply using your skills and talents to help others. It doesn't have to be a grand gesture. Even small acts of kindness can have a ripple effect.
So it's about finding what resonates with you and contributing in a way that feels meaningful and authentic.
Exactly. Think about the causes you're most passionate about, the issues that keep you up at night. What skills and talents do you have that could be of service?
So it's about that intersection of your passions, your skills, and the needs of the world. And when those align, amazing things can happen.
Beautifully said. It's about shifting our mindset from scarcity to abundance, realizing we have more than enough to share. And guess what? Giving back actually enriches our own lives in countless ways.
It's like that saying, the more you give, the more you receive.
Exactly. And it's not just about material things. It's about giving our time, energy, love, compassion. It's about recognizing our interconnectedness and understanding that our actions can make a difference.
I love that. Okay, we've covered so much, but there's one more big question I have. We've talked about wealth, purpose, giving back, but what about legacy? What do we want to be remembered for?
Legacy. It's a profound question, isn't it?
It is. It's about looking beyond our own lives and considering the impact we leave on the world, the mark we make. How can we use our time, talents, and resources to make a difference that outlasts us?
It's about creating something that continues to ripple outward even after we're gone. And Robbins reminds us that we don't have to wait until we're old and gray to think about legacy. We can start building it today with every choice we make, every action we take.
So it's about being intentional and living a life that truly matters.
Exactly. It's about leaving the world a little better than we found it.
Wow, this conversation has been incredibly insightful. From practical financial strategies to the deeper meaning of wealth, relationships, giving back, and legacy.
It's been a joy exploring these ideas with you, and we're not done yet. In part 3, we'll explore Robbins' final insights on overcoming scarcity and creating a future filled with abundance.
Can't wait. To our listeners, get ready for the final part of our deep dive into money. Master the game. It's going to be an inspiring ride. Welcome back. It's time for the final part of our deep dive into money. Master the game. We've covered so much ground, already debunking money myths, crafting a life of purpose, you name it. But there's one more big idea from Robbins that I want to explore. This whole concept of scarcity versus abundance.
Yeah, that's a theme that runs throughout the book.
It really does. And it feels so relevant today with all the uncertainty and honestly a bit of fear in the world. How do we shift from that scarcity mindset to one where we truly believe in abundance, in unlimited possibilities?
It's not always easy. It's almost like a default setting for a lot of us, to focus on what we lack, what we're afraid of losing. But Robbins says it all starts with awareness.
Awareness of what?
Awareness of our thoughts. Are we constantly dwelling on problems, on limitations, or are we actively seeking solutions, focusing on what we do have, on the opportunities that surround us?
So it's kind of like a mental detox, clearing out those negative thought patterns that tell us there's not enough to go around.
Exactly. Replace those with empowering beliefs, with the understanding that abundance isn't just about money, it's about possibilities, about resources, about the potential for growth.
I'm all for that, but it sounds a bit, a bit woo-woo, Just thinking positive thoughts doesn't magically make things happen. There has to be action, right?
Absolutely. Robbins wouldn't disagree with that. He's all about action. But he's saying that the quality of our actions changes when we shift from a scarcity mindset to one of abundance. We start to see opportunities where we once saw roadblocks.
So instead of thinking, I don't have enough money to start that business, I might start asking myself, how can I make this happen? Or what resources are available to me that I haven't even considered yet?
Exactly. It's about moving from I can't to how can I? It's about that entrepreneurial spirit, even if you're not, starting a traditional business.
I'm digging this. But let's be honest, even with the best mindset, fear can still hold us back. Fear of failure, fear of the unknown, heck, even fear of success sometimes.
Fear is a sneaky one. But Robbins reminds us that fear is a natural human emotion. I don't have to let it control us.
Easier said than done sometimes. Any tips from Robbins on how to actually do that?
He says to acknowledge the fear, first of all. Don't try to pretend it's not there. Figure out where it's coming from. And then take action anyway. Feel the fear and do it anyway, as they say.
Okay, I can get behind that. But sometimes it's not just our own internal fear that holds us back. It's the state of the world, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot going on that, frankly, makes it tough to feel abundant.
It's true. There are some big challenges out there.
Climate change, economic uncertainty, political divides. It can feel overwhelming.
It can, but Robbins has this incredible ability to reframe things. He sees challenges as opportunities. He believes that we, as humans, have the creativity and ingenuity to solve these problems.
So it's about focusing on solutions, not just dwelling on the problems.
Exactly. It's about believing in our collective capacity to create a better future and about actively participating in that creation. It's about making choices, both big and small, that contribute to positive change.
So it's not about passively hoping things will get better. It's about taking action.
Absolutely. It's about realizing that we all have a role to play in creating a more abundant and equitable world.
I love that. It's so easy to feel helpless in the face of these big global issues, but you're right, we can choose to be part of the solution. Okay, so we've talked about mindset, action, the state of the world. Is there anything else from Robbins that you think is essential for embracing abundance?
I think he'd say that it's about remembering that abundance is a journey, not a destination. It's about continually learning, growing, expanding our perspectives, and pushing ourselves beyond our comfort zones. It's about embracing the unknown with curiosity and a sense of adventure.
It's like we're always evolving, always discovering new layers of abundance within ourselves and in the world around us.
Beautifully said. And that's something I really appreciate about Robbins' work. He doesn't just give us financial advice. He challenges us to grow as human beings.
It's true. He's like a financial coach, Andy, a life coach, all rolled into one.
Exactly. He reminds us that financial freedom is just one piece of the puzzle. It's a tool that can help us create a life of purpose, meaning, and yes, abundance.
I think that's a perfect way to wrap up our deep dive into money, master the game.
Couldn't agree more. It's been an amazing journey.
To our listeners, thank you for joining us on this exploration of Tony Robbins' wisdom. We hope you've gained some valuable insights and feel inspired to create a life of abundance in all its forms.
Remember, Financial freedom is within reach, and true wealth is about so much more than just money. It's about living a life that's aligned with your values, your passions, and your purpose.
So go out there, embrace the abundance that surrounds you, and create the life of your dreams.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. If you enjoyed this conversation and want to stay updated on our latest episodes, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel.